Yeah, baby.
Oh.
Yes.
Woo!
Yeah, baby.
This is the Sport Fishing Championship.
And it's the fourth event we get to kick off here on the Sport Fishing Championship, the Gulf Coast Masters from Orange Beach, Alabama. Welcome everybody to this beautiful day. It's takeoff day here. Stop number 4 of 11. We're looking live as the boats head out towards the Orange Beach Marina there, the takeoff point, which you will see a massive shotgun start. I'm Robbie Floyd alongside Ronnie Moore on this first day of 3. These boats have been prepping all morning, getting ready for this point, Ronnie, and it's all about the prep leading into today, but they're about to head out en masse out to the big Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, we're going to see a shotgun start head out into the Gulf like you said. These guys have to prepare a little bit differently. You got to strap things down a little differently. It's going to get a little bumpy out there. They're not single file line. They're going out full bore trying to get to their spots first so they can start catching them as soon as possible and gain those catch points.
Leader prep, bait prep, as well as the ice chest. Got to keep it cold. And again, it is all about the preparation for these guys. Some of these guys don't even live anywhere near this area. They actually fly them in, the best of the best in the country and the world for that matter. We've seen international flavor as well on the Sport Fishing Championship. And again, this is one of the biggest events that you can go to. I've been in this area when these guys go to takeoff. It is amazing.
Yes, the Gulf Shores Classic this week, the second stop of the Gulf Division. We're excited to see how the points start to shake out. We've kind of had 3 unique events to start the season. Robbie, the teams that are kicking off this week, we will see some duplicates, the ones that we saw in Venice and Grand Isle down in Louisiana. And the teams, they kind of have more of a mindset. They're in the rhythm of tournament fishing this year. Like you said, all the preparations, all of the excitement kind of culminates now. 10 a.m. they will take off, all shotgun start against each other.
Just under 50 boats will be taking off part of the Sport Fishing Championship today. Last year it was, I believe, Team Sunrise. They won over $114,000. But we're looking at a little bit bigger picture here this year with the Sport Fishing Championship. We will culminate at the end at Puerto Rico, our 11th stop, and we will crown a champion of the Sport Fishing, or the SFC, and they will win $1 million. So again, this is just stop number 2 if you're in a standalone Gulf division. If you were to fish the Dominican Republic a couple of weeks back, you could have chosen to fish either the Gulf or the Atlantic. It looks like they have chosen to fish the Atlantic. I can't say I blame them there, Ronnie. No. But again, these guys, we saw them about a month ago taking off from Venice just like 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah, and for Breathe Easy, we just saw the back of their boat. They are one of the local teams, the Orange Beach area region. And they did very well down in Venice and Grand Isle for the first Louisiana Gulf Coast Billfish Classic. Now they're at their home part. Maybe they can go from second place to maybe taking the top spot this week. Bandito as well. A lot of familiar faces on camera this week.
We mentioned that this is a second standalone Gulf Division event. We kicked off in Louisiana just to the left. Let's move over to the right of the Gulf Coast. Orange Beach, Gulf Shores. It's a big-time vacation spot, also a big-time fishing spot, Ronnie.
The state of Alabama, no matter what species of fish you're targeting, is a hotbed for fishing. It is an area that you really love. And like we mentioned, for the Gulf Division, there's a lot of opportunity. You can go 50, 60 miles out. You can go 100 miles out. A lot of these guys will be running, hour and a half to 2 hours to their first spot. And they say, hey, that's not a long run. 2 hours, that's a normal little run for us this week. And that may be what we see a lot of teams do.
Absolutely right. You're seeing the little circles there, 100 out, 200 out. You could get to 200 out and be some of the prime fishing waters that we saw in Venice. So, again, do they come out, turn to the right? Do they come out, turn to the left? The world is their oyster, or as I say, the Gulf of Mexico is their oyster.
Yeah, the different depths and the ridges that they want to focus on. Sometimes you want to go over 1,000 feet of water. Sometimes you want to be around that 600 feet of water. And a lot of times with water clarity and color, you're looking for that blue water. So teams will be, from the last few days of practice, will be pursuing that. And here's the Gulf Division overall points, Robbie.
Yeah, and you get your catch points. However many billfish you catch, they keep adding up. But also, we crown a champion at each and every stop. Moncherie won back at Venice. They have the total of 5,600 points. Breathe easy, and you work your way on down. But again, the catch points are important. So I can get 3,500 overall points, my winning points, but it's those catch points that really put Moncherie on top. That made the difference, all of those blue marlin.
Yeah, the blue marlin is the ticket for sure. That's the highest point total fish that they can catch this week. And obviously, the more you catch there, the more you stack points. Mon Cheri, they got first. Breathe Easy got second, but you see that 800-point differential. That is the number of blue marlin they were able to catch. More than Breathe Easy, that helps a whole lot, especially at the end of the year, like you mentioned.
And we'll see these points fluctuate starting from now on, because again, the way it stands right now is how they finished at Venice. So now we'll start seeing jumble them up. And again, you have to fish at least 3 events, whether it be Gulf or Atlantic. You have to fish 3. In a perfect world, I've got 3,500 because I've got 3 wins on those 3.
That would be 10,000 points roughly or whatever for 3 victories.
But just because and you're looking at it here, just because you win those 3 events doesn't mean you will win the overall championship, because you also need to have those catch points. What did I do on my 4th stop? What did I do on my 5th stop? If you want to go jump in an Atlantic stop, you still get those those catch points added up.
You mentioned that 11 events, 2 different divisions, the Gulf and the Atlantic. We've had 3 events so far this season, 1 Gulf, 1 dual division event, and then 1 Atlantic event. We'll get to see the breakdown of the point standings there for sure. But like you mentioned, hey, for these guys that maybe went to the DR, they caught a lot of white marlin, a lesser point total, but they had more quantity. It's all about that playing that game. Maybe you go out and you only catch 3 blue marlin, but it's a better point total than a winner from another event. Those catch points will help you advance on in the standings.
And we even saw that when we were at the Dominican Republic with all those whites being caught. Every now and then you would have a blue pop up, or you'd have a sailfish.
Make up a lot of ground.
Yeah, there's a big difference between 175-point sailfish and a 350-point blue marlin. But again, these guys are going to be hunting blues. That's what we saw in the Gulf just a few short weeks ago, and that is going to give you the most points. The one thing we haven't talked about also is all of these guys are going to take off at a shotgun start, leave at the same time. How important is it to catch the first blue marlin in the tournament, period? First blue marlin in the tournament gets a big pop.
That's what we'll see, the guys who do the strategy. Maybe they run 45, 50, maybe 60 miles out. If that's the shortest run for some of these teams, maybe they get to their spot first, capitalize, get that extra 100 bonus points for catching that first blue marlin of the tournament, and then they can take their time and get back out there. But they will face some headwind today as they head a little bit from the south and from the west as they head out, but these teams are prepared for it, and we'll get to see the preparation, not only rigging the baits and the techniques they'll be using, all the equipment, but also securing their boats, because these are big crafts
to
get out in the water. You know, the fuel they have to manage, there's a lot that they have to balance, but these teams are prepared for it, and they're excited to get it going, especially shotgun start. Man, Robbie, I've done it in all different types of boats, and when you have a shotgun start against other people, the competition inside you just drives. You want to get out there and beat them. Even if catching the fish is the goal, you still want to get there first.
Some of these aren't just boats, they are vessels. I mean, look at that beast right there. Some up to 90 foot in length. That could play an advantage if the water gets a little rougher as they go to head out. Maybe they're able to power through it a little more. You know, bigger waves, that boat might be able to crash through. Some of these smaller boats, but just because as we're looking live out at Orange Beach and Perdido right over there, just across the bridge there. As we look at these boats heading out for that first day, it doesn't take a big boat to catch a big fish. We've seen it now. It may be a little easier to have all your equipment there and everything you want to do, but we've seen smaller boats catch big fish.
Yeah, the strategy of what vessel you use, you mentioned, you called them vessels. We're going to have anything from 55-foot boats, 58-foot boats, 72-foot boats. There's a lot of different, the captains. It's really about the crewmates and the captains. The boat that you're in does not identify how good you are or if you can compete. It's all about the knowledge and the strategy that those crewmates and captains employ out in the Gulf this week.
Holy smokes, those are some big pieces of machinery on the water, and as you mentioned, they will be sucking up some fuel in today's gas prices. But if you can afford that boat, you can afford the fuel. I can promise you that one. A great place there to lay out on the beach. Again, as the boats all go to meet up, they will all take off at the same time. And unlike we saw at Dominican Republic, they will be staying out. Where Dominican Republic, they were coming in and out each and every day.
We saw them in Venice and Grand Isle really make those big runs and then stay out there. And like we do getting into the schedule, you mentioned it, 11 events, 2 different divisions, and we already have been at Grand Isle and Venice, got to see Mon Cheri take the title there.
And then we moved on to the Dominican Republic, the second stop, and this was a dual event where you can choose to go as an Atlantic team or a Gulf team. It looks like most have chose to go the Atlantic route. And then St. Augustine, it got pushed back a day, but they still caught fish. Not as many as we were hoping, but again, we always crown a winner at every stop. And we'll talk more about our winners here in a bit.
And then after those first 3 events, we jump over to Orange Beach, Alabama, where we are this week for the Gulf Coast Masters Classic. And then we'll just slide over the coast just a little bit more west to Biloxi, Mississippi in the first or second week of June coming up.
Miramar Beach, one of our penultimate round on the Gulf Coast. We'll finish off in Texas, but this is the last one of the Gulf for a while because after Miramar, we start working our way up towards the East Coast. We hit Cape May, New Jersey, a fishing hotspot, a vacationing hotspot. It's good times up there.
Got to go a little bit north as well, and this is a perfect time, July, maybe a little bit in August, to be up in this neck of the woods, the Northeast. Martha's Vineyard. I can't say it just like you do.
Martha's Vineyard.
There we go.
And we're actually, Peter Miller and myself, I think, get to go up there. We'll be calling it live from up top. Montauk, New York, a big fishing spot. I saw an over 1,000-pound blue marlin on record got caught out of Montauk way back in, I think, the mid-'80s, and I'm expecting that this year, Ronnie. And then my home state, the final stop of the Gulf.
We hop back down to the Gulf. Like you said, there's a long gap between the next to last and the last stop in the Gulf, but South Padre Island will wrap it up there. And then the ultimate, the final, the crowning one where that $1 million prize will be awarded, Robbie.
Make your way to San Juan, be a part of the festivities. We will crown a champion and award $1 million to our overall winner. There's a look at all 11 stops on the Sport Fishing Championship. And again, if you live in the area, come out there, watch them come in. Sometimes they have weigh-ins, sometimes, or actually they will have weigh-ins on many of them. But again, see these fleets head out like you would today when the shotgun started is pretty impressive.
I've been to some of those Gulf marinas and stuff, and you see the big boats, the big rigs, and you're like, man, that guy is vacationing in style, but you don't realize half the boats in the marina are fierce competitors and teams preparing to get out there.
Well, as these boats head out for this first day of 3, it's not always about just the fishing. You got to get out there, and boy, you use a ton of fuel. One of our teams, All In, caught up with our Gale Force twins earlier this week.
We're in Orange Beach, Alabama right now with Captain Blake from Team All In Fishing. Right now you're preparing for the Gulf Coast Masters tournament. We are not familiar with these golf tournaments where you go out for days and days at a time. So bringing fuel with you is very strange for us because we are familiar with a lot of the Atlantic tournaments. So would you mind explaining exactly, where do you store it, first of all? You can't possibly store it here.
Yeah, so it actually homes right there.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll actually, before we leave to go out, we'll tie the neck up and, kind of just anchor it up on one of these rocket launchers just to keep it. As you get in, especially with a shotgun start, you're going to get in all that boat wake, and that thing has a tendency to go where you don't want it to. So we're going to kind of strap it down. And
so I'm assuming you're going to go through a good portion of your fuel just running out to the fishing ground.
Yeah, so normally here we're, to be in blue water, or I say blue water, to be in, 600 plus feet, we're going to run 45 miles, and this boat runs 30 knots, so that's an hour and a half of running, and we burn about 120 gallons an hour. So this is a 250 gallon bladder, so you can do the math. In a little over 2 hours, we're going to be dumping those.
Once it's time to start fishing, what do you do?
Yeah. Well,
you work around it?
Well, yeah. If what we generally try to do is we normally have, depending on where we're fishing. Right now, we're going to fish in close this weekend. So my thinking is when I get there, I want to be full. So I'm going to run for a little over 2 hours. So I'll be pretty much sitting on a full boat again. So this will actually compact really small and go away. But if we have to run, if we're running further, sometimes we'll have this one, another one, and then one on the bow. So we'll be putting an additional, 750, 800 gallons on the boat.
I thank the captain for giving us all that scoop there. That was a lot of data to digest. I'm sure the ladies got to be spun like a top. Welcome everyone inside our studios here at the Sport Fishing Championship. Ronnie Moore, I'm Robbie Floyd. And boy, Ronnie, there's a lot of fuel not only in the boat, but on top of the boat as well.
I couldn't imagine how long it takes to pump 250 gallons of fuel, but these teams are prepared. And like you said, hey, he's got to go 120 gallons per hour. They burn Robbie. And then obviously if he goes 2 hours or so, that's 250 gallons. And that's what they have in reserves there, so they can make their way back at the end of the tournament. So well prepared, which is cool.
Yeah, just burn that fuel that's on top, then you know what you're dealing with everything below. But that shotgun start going to make things interesting. Let's go on site with Site 1. The Gale Force twins. Welcome, ladies. Amanda and Emily, good to have you back here. And I just think maybe it's you bringing out the sunshine, because every time we're in this studio, you're in blue skies and in perfect conditions.
Thanks for having us. It's great to be here. What was really awesome about this tournament is that we were able to come in early, and with the weather delay, we actually got some time, like you guys just saw, to spend with the All In and Captain Blake. But not only that, we even got to get out and do a little bit of trout fishing. So we've had a great time. What, Amanda, the past 2 days? The past 2 days we've been here. We've been hanging out with the captains and crew. We've been picking their brains on their strategies. They all say they're going to the rigs, but we all know there's a lot of rigs. So that's a very loaded answer. You know, maybe they don't want to give away their secrets or not. But Captain Blake was telling us sometimes they will live bait, and we were talking about those tuna tubes. We were really picking his brain. And sometimes they will troll, and we were asking Captain Blake, well, what's the difference between when you choose to live bait and you choose to troll? And he was saying that when they know they're marking fish, they'll live bait, but if they think they need to cover ground because they can't find fish, they'll try trolling. So a lot of strategies are going into this, and it's been great. We were here. There was a shrimp boil last night with the teams. The night before, there was a crawfish boil. So it is a great place to be right now, and we just watched all the boats right behind us just left. They're getting ready for that shotgun start.
Yeah, and Amanda, Emily, we got to hear your feature with them about that fuel. They just took off. They're about to do the shotgun start, and they got out of the marina. There's a lot of strategy, not just, you talked about the tuna tubes, trolling, but that fuel economy, the kind of preparations they have to take there. It's very interesting, and you guys learned about it because you don't do that on the Atlantic normally.
No, definitely. On the Atlantic side, we don't have to run hundreds of miles to find our fish. I mean, we run probably 20, 30, 40 tops to get to those fishing grounds to find our mahis and our tunas. We don't really have a blue marlin fishery by us, but out here they're running hundreds of miles, and eventually they're going to run out of that fuel. So Captain Blake was telling us sometimes they'll actually have 3 of those bladders, those fuel bladders, on the boat at one time, and they kind of just have to work around them, which is just nuts to see. I mean, you guys have seen the footage where when there's fish on, they're all over that deck. So I can only imagine that that's just something else that they have to be aware of.
Unfortunately, sometimes they're not only all over that deck, they're off the deck as well. Now, were you able to talk to them and ask them about some of those runs? Because, again, this is the Gulf of Mexico. The playing field could be the same areas we saw guys go to and finish. Did anybody say they're going to older water? Is that where the fish are? Or are they saying they're going to stay more easterly?
Absolutely. So actually the All-In specifically talked about saying that for this tournament they're not going to be running very far. That's why I believe they only had 1 fuel bladder on their boat,
correct,
maybe 2.
yes.
And whereas we were talking to the other boats that they were planning on going back to Venice. So every boat kind of has their own strategy, and we were asking Captain Blake, well, why are you choosing to stay close? And they're actually looking at satellite images before they leave the dock of what the current looks like, and they can see those currents from satellite images, and that's where he's making his call to stay close. And some of the boats are probably looking at these same images and saying, well, I like it better out here, so we're going to go back over to Venice, back to the rigs way out where we were when we fished the Billfish Classic in Louisiana a couple weeks ago.
Thanks a lot, ladies. That's great information. Again, we'll be checking in with you later again on site with Site 1, the Gale Force twins, as the boats again prepare for the launch for the first day of 3. Once they take off, they are gone until they come back on Sunday afternoon. Ronnie Moore, let's look back at that Louisiana Gulf Coast Billfish Classic, because that was a good one. We saw big blues caught right off the bat, and we didn't really know what to expect, but it was a party to be had at Grand Isle in Venice.
It really was. Those guys went out there, the crews went out there, and they stayed all night. They obviously did not come in each day. They went hundreds of miles out. But to see the fish that they caught and the back and forth between Mon Cheri and Breathies, there was a lot of teams that were really vying for it. And it's cool to see there's no lines out. They're fishing at 2, 3 a.m. possibly to make sure they make up ground if they have to catch up.
Absolutely. And some of the championship we haven't talked about, the championship fish, we've got the invisible boat yellowfin tuna, the mahi-mahi, and the wahoo. Some of those nighttime fishing, they're trying to find some of those other species to try and get some extra coin. But Mon Cheri, they really had the game going. 350 points for a blue marlin, and you see how many they caught. That's how you win this thing. That's how you win the overall.
And they did it in dramatic fashion. I know that final day was very key for them. They popped in a couple blue marlin and were able to take over Breathe Easy and win the event. Obviously a big cash payday for them for that event, but it leads to possibly a bigger payday at the end of the season, like you mentioned.
A lot of money on the line, especially this weekend. They have Calcutta's a little side bet, so I can get over $700,000. I think what the pot's up to now, but we're looking for that $1 million champion at the end in Puerto Rico. We're looking live. This isn't taped stuff. We're looking live as they go underneath the bridge there. Ronnie, if you keep going just behind us on camera, you can go to the Floribama, maybe get you a bushwhacker.
Exactly. I think that, hey, with the Gale Force twins were mentioning with Team All In and Captain Blake, that strategy, not going all the way to Venice, it could net some of those teams that decide to stay 45 to 50 miles away. They could end up getting those extra bonus points from being able to catch the first blue marlin of the event, and they'll have a lot more fishing time this week than the other teams do once they finally get there.
But the big question is, and I've taken off out of this exact marina before, I've made runs, are there fish there where you think they are? That's always the big question. If you know there are billfish at a certain year, you're going to go there. If it takes you an extra hour, 2 hours, even 3 hours to get there, if I know that they're there with certainty, that's where I'm going.
And what's really crazy is
look at this.
Awesome. Look at the festivity.
Oh,
they are ready to go. But you mentioned it, the strategy of staying close, and if the fish aren't there, you're kind of stuck there because you only have probably one fuel bladder there, only an extra, 120, 250 gallons, whatever it is of fuel. So those teams that are prepared to go to Venice, they maybe have 2 or 3 of those bladders, and they don't have to go far. They can stay close, but they have the option to make that run.
And again, as the captain had mentioned, they'll burn off that fuel, all the external fuel first, and those bags, those fuel bladders will decrease. So then they'll be out of the way. But again, you've got to prepare for that long run. Now, if you prepare for the long run and you stay close, if you see something along the way, now you're dealing with a bladder that you're working around, and I don't think that would be a big key. And I'm not sure about the age limit, but I think we've got a
Maybe
minor on board
interns,
trying to catch some blue marlin.
We got some interns. We'll have also, like we see here, male, female teams. I believe Team Rebecca was able to compete in the first Gulf event. Hey, you mentioned the championship division fish. We've already got a leader in each of those categories that we'll definitely get into, but we got to see a 139-pound yellowfin tuna, Invincible Boats yellowfin tuna from Team Rising Sun in the first event. Each event this season has recorded one of these championship division leaders.
Yeah, Daniel Landry leading that one. That was from stop number 1, and he will hold that mark until somebody else catches an Invincible Boats yellowfin tuna that is bigger than 139 pounds. So it weighs about as much as you do, Ronnie. We'll see if we find one of those out there today, tomorrow, or the next day. We're here with you every day on the Sport Fishing Championship. Some running in, some running out. It's going to be a great day for fishing because, again, the weather looks really good.
It does. Very good, promising weather. The wind will be low. These teams are getting ready to head out, Robbie.
The Gulf Coast Masters, the takeoff when we return here on SFC.
Whether you like to ride the wind, find your secret cove,
SFC coverage of the Gulf Coast Masters
or reel them in.
brought to you by
Plot your paradise with GPS Map Series from Garmin.
Remember, everything begins in the morning. Every story told is a fisherman's tale. We build watches tough enough to be a part of that tale. The perfect balance of beauty and brawn. We are Seaholm. Watches that last a lifetime. Seaholm Automatic, the official timepiece of the Sport Fishing Championship.
sport fishing anglers from around the world competing for $1 million. The Sport Fishing Championship on CBS Sports Network. See it, live it, love it.
The largest in-water boat show in the world, the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show. More than 3 million square feet, fishing boats to super yachts, engines, accessories, learning experiences, and culinary delights. Save the dates, October 26th through 30th. Details at flibs.com.
It all comes back to the water. This binding agent. This fluid history of connection. Past, present, and future, all tied together through this never-ending, unwavering force. We belong to a community of seekers, anglers, and everyone in between. For us, it's more than fishing, much more. It's who we are, who we were, and who we aspire to be. We are Smith.
Yeah, baby.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, baby.
This is the Sport Fishing Championship.
And this is a live look out at Orange Beach, Alabama.
SFC coverage of the Gulf Coast Masters is brought to you by Salt Life, Seaholm Watches, and by Smith Optics.
Can't get any more live than that, Ronnie.
Can't, not at all, Robbie. It's day one.
And again, great aerial shots, and we'll try and get you all the coverage. Well, we have 8 different cameras on boats as we go out. I mean, there's almost 50 in our field. They're all setting out there just outside that inlet. And
what a shot.
Yeah, a sea of fun as it is about to get crazy, but also down that beach. Again, a great vacation spot here at Orange Beach and Gulf Shores. I've been there several times. All I know is it gets busy going down the 65 or up the 65.
I was going to say, if there's some people vacationing, maybe they're hanging out on the beach this morning, their boogie boards are going to get a little bit more rough in just a couple minutes when these waves come.
And that's what I was thinking about is the guys were talking about those bladders. Unlike a wakeboard who has a swim bladder, basically the same process, but what does it do for a wakeboard? It creates a wake, and that's what the guys were talking about. Well, on the shotgun start, you have to strap that bladder down. When you're just taking off by yourself, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. The only worry you have is the natural wind and current of the ocean. But when you have 48 other boats taking off beside you, Robbie, it can get quite rough, and you have to kind of game plan on where you want to go. Are you going to try to get out to the lead so you're fighting your own wake, or do you have to get behind some boats and ride in their wake?
And there's Rising Suns. Again, Daniel Landry has that Invincible Boats yellowfin tuna caught on the Rising Suns back at Venice.
They placed 7th at the Gulf Coast Billfish Classic in Venice and Grand Isle.
Carl Gator, another one of our top finishers. Carl Gator finishing, I believe, just outside the top 5. Again, that first stop, it kind of showed us who would be up there in the front row. But things can happen. I mean, you could have an off week or not. I know Breathe Easy finished second. I had a buddy call me and said, hey, they're the one to watch. It's almost like pari-mutuel betting. You know that horse, even though you're not in that race, you know that horse is fast in another part of the country.
Especially with Breathe Easy being a local to this region. Their boat is out of Orange Beach. It'll be interesting to see how they take off as well. Badonkadonk in the field, they logged a top 5 in Venice and Grand Isle in the first event.
Michelle Hargroder also, we saw her with a catch. Seemed like she had a couple of marlin on, but I thought they might have actually had a mahi-mahi, but it wasn't one of the keepers as well. But Badonkadonk, one of the ones to look for.
They were one of the first teams hooked up, and I think they lost it. I don't know if they already could have had the bonus or not, or if that had already taken place, but we got to also talk to Captain Blake, the Gale Force Twins did with Team All In. We're looking at them right now. Live out there, it's awesome to see the spectacle of what a shotgun start is. It's not a John boat tournament with 19 boats taking off. These are huge vessels out in the Gulf of Mexico ready to take off from the shores of Alabama there.
For instance, like All In, it's a Viking, 2013 Viking, 55 foot long. And again, that's probably a mid-range size boat when we're talking about these boats. Look at some of those ones out in the front. And I don't even know what would be best, buddy. And I've covered a lot of racing in my time. Would you want to be a small boat in front and try and get away? Or are you saying, because I don't want to be around those wakes at all? Or do I want to be, back and let them go ahead and let that water settle down just a little bit?
Hey, I'm a competitor, Robbie. I want to be first at all times, whether it's on the leaderboard with catching or getting out there. I think that it's a lot easier to navigate if you are a smaller boat, and we say smaller, 55 compared to a 72 or something like that. But if you're out front, the only variables you have to control are what Mother Nature's throwing your way. But when you're behind boats, you need to navigate the waves. You maybe have to take a little bit wider path to your first spot. You can't just go straight there, but these teams are waiting in anticipation. This isn't their first go-around. They know what to expect.
No, and then you probably have the tournament officials, the one boat that's just on the outside, making sure everybody doesn't hit past that line of demarcation. Don't go past this line, making sure that it is a correct start. It's kind of like me in racing. I say everything is officially unofficial.
Yeah, exactly.
But we do have the officials out there, and it's been a busy week. And we haven't even talked about that. It was not this calm leading into this event. I mean, they're still talking about river flood warnings and things like that. This event has been pushed back a day. This takeoff was supposed to have been yesterday.
Yeah, and these guys, obviously, it comes into their game plan a little bit. The wind in the Gulf shouldn't be too bad. The next
game on, Ronnie.
Yeah,
look at that.
We see the flare go off. It's a shotgun start, but not with an actual shotgun, but with a flare. Now the teams are off and running.
I saw one smaller boat mid-pack in the back trying to get that hole shot. As a racing fan, I love it. And you know what? There's some cool footage, too. If you're on one of those boats and you're getting however many knots you may be turning or miles per hour you're going to be turning, and no, that man is not trolling as they're heading out at this speed. No matter what, it is going to be a wild ride.
I'm liking that center boat right there. Not only are they out front, but they're right there in the middle. They don't have to take the left or right. With this whole field of boats taking off. But then you see the navigation. You already got to ride a wake a certain way. Team All In looks like they're hanging back a little bit.
I don't blame them.
And obviously, they also say, hey, we can hang back a little bit because we don't have to go nearly as far. And that comes into the game plan as well. But for those teams maybe making the run to Venice, they got to use every minute possible to get there as quick.
Hey, listen, Ronnie, that's fuel. I mean, you want to talk about just lighting the wick right there. They are pulling some fuel. There's some diesel being spent right now. But, again, a lot of money's on the line, a lot of prestige.
A lot of hard work. These teams, they fish all year, Robbie, for maybe 3 or 4 major events that they can make the whole crew they're living for the year. Captains are employed to check that out.
You get drones. You got a helicopter. Crawgator taking off. For the most part, I believe everybody in the Sport Fishing Championship. This is the part of the Gulf Coast Masters. Been around for a while. I think started back in 1966 here in Orange Beach. The Mobile Big Game Fishing Club is part of their tournament series, and it is really a good one. And that boat is hauling. I can't identify which one, but I know fast when I see it.
That's exactly right, Robbie. It's funny to see these teams all amped up heading out and to see All In just hanging in the back, just navigating slowly, ready to get their day going. But like you said, some of these teams who have 2 or 3 fuel bladders, hey, they've got the fuel to spend, that's for sure. But some of these teams with 1 or none are having to manage that.
Yeah, and I would have some beanbags somewhere on board, too, to make that ride. But this is definitely a stand-up takeoff. You do not want to be – there is no relaxing at a moment like this. They will kind of spread out, fan out, so the wakes won't be quite as bad, or maybe you won't get into the wake of the guy next to you. Some you'll see going through the basically the tail race from the boat in front. I don't mind being in prop wash if they're going ahead and cutting that path in front of me. I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, you have to trail them by a certain distance though, or otherwise that prop wash spreads out. Those waves kind of dissipate, and you kind of can't read it as well as you can when you're pretty close in proximity to that prop wash. But that's not a prop wash I want to be too close to, seeing how.
No. I mean, that boat is pushing some HP right there.
I'm assuming they got to pack 2 or 3 different hats as well, because I feel like
you blow
there's
it
no
off.
stopping and turning around when it comes to that.
Just sit back and watch some of these guys taking off. It's got to be a pretty exhilarating moment for them.
People sitting in a beach chair right now, Gulf Shores, wondering what in the world is going on. But a big-time billfish tournament has taken off, and that is the whole spectacle that comes with it.
But if they didn't know that, they're going, dang, Bobby, we got a boat race out there.
Yeah, are they shooting a movie? Is this some kind of boat race movie? 007 out there?
Mind everybody, we will bring it to you live on sportfishingchampionship.com. both today and tomorrow at 10:30 Eastern. At 6 Eastern, we will have kind of a recap and kind of update on how the day is going. If we can get some fish catches, we'll be bringing you that as well. Again, 10:30 and 6 for the first 2 days. And then that final day on Sunday, final day of the tournament, 7 a.m., we'll be bringing it to you, sportfishingchampionship.com. We'll follow it up at 8 o'clock with live on CBS Sports Network, and then hopefully we'll find out who our champion is in the afternoon at 5 Eastern for sportfishingchampionship.com.
2 hours of coverage on CBS Sports Network. That's going to be a great spectacle. Obviously, that is the final morning of the event. We've got a lot of pieces to put to the puzzle to see who's leading, to see how the leaderboard plays out, to see the catch rates, see which team, maybe a team's going to catch 1 or 2 blue marlin early and then make adjustments. Some teams may get on their one spot that they are banking on and catch all the blue marlin they need.
And typically here in the Gulf Coast, and we hear about the drops, the ledges, the things that they're looking for, the current, the actual rigs, the platforms. There's a lot of places to go, but they're all searching for the same thing, and that's the blue marlin. We said the first blue marlin of the tournament, you get 450 points, but it's 350 after that. These are some big beasts of the ocean.
Yeah, it's good to not only get those bonus points, but you want to stack up 350 pointers as much as you possibly can. And the blue marlin, they are kind of the apex, the one that you want to look at when you get out in the Gulf. Obviously, though, we saw Dominican Republic, the DR. White marlin can be a factor as well. We saw a handful in this event last year.
Yeah, then again, there's 5 different varieties of billfish. The white marlin, the smaller of the 2 marlin species, but 5 different billfish, the blue marlin, the white marlin, and a decreasing point value as well. The swordfish, the sailfish, and the spearfish. Spearfish give you 120, and then the sail and swords give you 75 apiece. We won't see all of these species.
No, not at all. A lot of the species that we'll see this week are the blue and the white marlin. We probably will not see maybe sailfish, swordfish, or spearfish. Spearfish obviously are the same point total as white marlin, but a lot less prevalent for this event.
We will see some championship fish as well. Again, decreasing points values, but you're not going to see all of the species in each and every stop. Last week, or last 2 rounds ago when we were in the Dominican Republic, we saw a lot of whites, we saw a couple of sails, and a couple of blues. Here, predominantly, it will be the blue marlin. And a swordfish, you catch one. The world record is 1,100 pounds, still a big fish. You don't see them that often. I don't know why there's so few points, again, when they're so hard to come by, Ronnie. They should be a little bit of a bonus.
Yeah, they're kind of like, a little unique catch there. But like you mentioned, with the Dominican Republic event, white marlin were primary. They had a lot of different aspects to it. Only 30 minutes to catch and land those fish for them to count. And so, Robbie, why don't you take it back to that dual event?
Let's take a look at the DR. In Punta Cana, we took off for both Cabeza de Toro as well as just around the corner. But this is the second stop. And at this stop, Ronnie, they can choose whether they want to put their points toward the Atlantic Division or the Gulf Division. Still a 3-day tournament, and Sisu was one of the ones to look for, as well as Doña Lucy.
We got to see both those teams on day 1 of this event. And like you mentioned, hey, Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, what a great place to be at. You said Team Sisu, hey, they got off to a great start on day 1.
Yep, yes they did. They were up at the front, either first or second the entire time, showing you just how many white marlin you can catch. Things were good on day 1. You put yourself in the lead, top 2, top 3, you know you have a chance of the title. It's not only catch and release, but also sometimes you catch and the release doesn't go like you had planned.
Yeah, day 2 was a little bit different. It was tougher for them. They did not do too hot, but also this was a tricky situation to navigate. The waves got big, the built. And sometimes this happens, and is a very dangerous aspect of this sport, but these are very veteran people, and this is something that does not happen frequently, and when it does, everyone's on high alert to retrieve their mate.
Miguel Ricard gets back on board. He was spent against Sisu. They were still strong. Day 1, day 2, they're in the running. They have a chance at the title, top 2 the entire time, but watch this again. Backing up to that blue marlin, but when the boat captain pulls forward, he feels it, and he actually pulls, that wave pulls Miguel out of the boat, and it was a good job that he actually was going forward. Some separation for the prop. That is a very dangerous situation. Nobody wanted to see that happen. Sisu's luck would end on day 2, though. They would finish 4th after zeroing on day 3.
In day 3, we got to see a team, hey, they were in it early in the event, obviously struggled one of the days. Donya Lucy on that final day, boy, did they execute well, landing 5 of 6.
Sisu with a 0 on day 3. Donya Lucy had a 0 on day 2.
Yes.
So unbelievable. Like, what happened? You were just in the lead, but really early on, they dredged up some white marlin, and quick, too. I mean, 9 o'clock hour, I think they had 2 white marlins in the boat.
What was very interesting is seeing the catch times of these white marlins. Some teams would go a couple hours in between bites and landings and successful fish catches, and some teams would land 3 or 4 fish in a 15 to 20 minute window. Like we said, each fish had to be caught, and the leader had to be touched before 30 minutes for it to count. That made blue marlin a lot tougher for these teams to catch, and white marlin were much more prevalent.
And that's what we were seeing with Sisu. They were backing that boat in, and that was a blue marlin that was on the line. But these are whites. Again, every white you catch is 125 points. This is their second of the morning. At this point, you had to be thinking, Ronnie, I've got a chance. It's midday at 12:47. I've got my 3rd white on. I'm not too far behind.
After a tough day 2, you wonder how the team morale is going to be going out on day 3. You get off to a quick start. That hope is reignited, and they kind of feel like they're in the game again, and then they keep that momentum going from around that noon, that 12 o'clock hour on through 1:30, 2 o'clock, and they really made a strong push all the way up to the last second.
Yeah, they're still not near the lead until they catch this fish at 1:36. Now, the lines had to be out in just a couple of hours, but when you catch your 4th fish of the morning, you still need 1 more. But as soon as that leader touched the rod tip, they need 1 more. And look at this, 3 minutes left to fish. They had a white marlin on. This is the fish, and they know what everybody else is doing. They knew this fish could win them the championship if they get it in within 30 minutes.
The energy and excitement were there, but yes, 3 minutes, hey, you have 30 minutes to land them, but when the actual tournament clock is against you, that is something that creates a little bit more excitement and energy than you ever could expect.
But look at that, white marlin, 9, 2 sailfish, and they do all add up. And Donya Lucy, at the last second, the last minute, win it in the Dominican Republic. What a run they had on this final day after zeroing the day before.
Hi, Rafa from Donya Lucy. We had a great day today. We went 5 for 6. Yesterday we got skunked, and we're really happy to climb up the ladder today.
And they were able to run that marlin flag, wear it proudly. I mean, just run it up the flagpole. Donya Lucy, there's the points after all said and done. Again, that's with their catch points plus the event points. And all these add up because we put the Atlantic and Gulf together to crown a champion at the end of the year.
Yeah, and Donya Lucy, after just one event, we mentioned it, 1,275 catch points, 3,500 points for winning the event, 4,775 total. That puts him in 3rd place on the overall leaderboard. Before that Dominican Republic event taking the title. Hey, every time you see those flags go up, Robbie, that's a good sign for the team, and we got to launch a lot of flags on that final day for that boat.
Yes, we did, and we're looking for more of the same, but blue marlin here this week. We're hailing from Orange Beach, Alabama on the Gulf Shore. It's stop number 4 of the Sport Fishing Championship, the Gulf Coast Masters, and these guys are heading out to deeper waters. We heard it takes, about 600 feet deep water in about 45 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, so we can get there, but you can go even deeper if you want and run for hours and hours on end to find the right water for you. It's all about the current, Ronnie Moore. It's around the depths. It's around that bait fish. Where the bait fish are, you have those blue marlins hanging out. So again, the Gulf Coast Masters from Orange Beach, Alabama. It's day number 1, and we're bringing it to you live on Sport Fishing Championship.
The Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation is honored to be the official charity of the Sports Fishing Championship. Through this partnership and the support of donors like you, future generations will enjoy and benefit from a naturally balanced ocean ecosystem. Our education programs, both in the classroom and online, bring to life the work needed to make sure we have clean oceans for decades to come. Join us today at www.ghof.org.
Sometimes saying no can be really difficult. It's hard to set boundaries, to give yourself space and time. Hop water means never having to choose between having fun or missing out. A sparkling hop water full of flavor and packed with mood-boosting benefits that's non-alcoholic with no calories, no carbs, and no sugar. So go out there and get up to no good.
Fishing anglers from around the world competing for $1 million. The Sport Fishing Championship on CBS Sports Network.
When you're serious, you are as excited to wake up for a 4 a.m. fishing trip as you were when you were a kid. It means winning 3 World Sailfish Championships. It means you know what you need and what you don't. Being serious means seeking out the ultimate fishing machine, which is what Peter Miller has found in the unmatched handling, speed, and comfort of an Invincible.
It's the simple things, like spending a day at the beach, splashing in the water, playing in the sand, and creating sandcastle masterpieces. Rediscover fun and family on the beautiful white sand beaches of Gulf Shores and Orange Beach.
SFC coverage of the Gulf Coast Masters is brought to you by Invincible Boats, Centered Wellness, and by Gulf Shores and Orange Beach Tourism.
The Masters tournament uses a shotgun start approach. So what happens is, you have boats from different marinas, different local areas who all gather right outside the pass.
And there's basically a flare or a signal given over the radio. Everybody pretty much running guns to see who can get out front.
It can get a little hectic at times. You got to pay attention.
It's balls to the wall, adrenaline. Everybody give it, push it to the pins. Who's the fastest? See who can get out there the first.
It's fortunate for the faster boats. They can typically take an advantage of that. They can get to the fishing grounds a little faster and do things. And then some of us who are a little slower, we can see where they're going, I guess. So it's advantage either way you look at it. But it's pretty unique and nice to see.
2 different ways to look at it there. If I'm relying on I see where they're going, that means I don't have much of a game plan. So I think I'd want to be a little more locked in and say, hey, he's going over there. Let's give that a shot.
Exactly. But like they said, all boats, all shape sizes, all speed, but the crew's heart is what matters, because when you get to your spot, the strategy is not about the boat speed at that point, Robbie. It's about the skill of the angler, knowing how to manage that current. Saw from Team All In and Captain Blake using satellite imaging to check the current, and they like the way the current bumps against that deep water. We talk about the deep blue water, 600 feet deep. Said it's about 45 miles away. It's going to take about 90 minutes to get there. So when we do the afternoon show, we should have plenty of catches to go through as well.
Let's hope, Ronnie, as you saw, even guys, as they were making their runs out, they were doing some adjustments as well. And the boats that are taking off here, I know Relentless Pursuit, it's got a freshie, like a 21. It's only a 1-year-old 95-foot Jim Smith that he's going out there. He's making a massive wake. But
that's 2 semis, Robbie. 2 semis, basically, out on the water. And they're not only fishing for billfish this week, Robbie, whites and blues, but they're also fishing for the championship division fish.
Yeah, Invincible Boats, Yellowfin Tuna, Daniel Landry, Rising Sun, leading that one, holding up that fin in front. Get $50,000 for the winner. And in Puerto Rico, whoever had the largest mahi-mahi, Yellowfin Tuna by Invincible Boats, or wahoo. We've got 3 leaders right now. For a while there, I don't know why we didn't see more dolphin or mahi-mahi, but we saw the wahoo, and that is a toad as well. The Wahoo is Corrales' Maricela Echeverria. That was from the Dominican Republic, and that was a big one as well, 73.8 pounds.
And then when we get over to the St. Augustine event, the third stop of the season, the first Atlantic stop solely for that division, we got to see the Mahi Mahi take the lead there as well. Reese Johnson, Contentment Blues, 32 pounds for that one.
Speaking of St. Augustine, where Reese caught that 32-pound mahi-mahi, it was also about catching blue marlin as well. Not the numbers of billfish that we saw at the Dominican Republic. And this is another event that kind of got moved around due to weather concerns.
Yeah, obviously, when we talk about wind and weather, if you're on a lake or a river, that's fine. Wind and weather can be navigated. When you're talking about the Atlantic or the Gulf of Mexico, there's a lot of different factors for safety for these teams, so they made the best decision, postponed the event for a week, and these teams got back out there and competed, and kind of everyone had their eyes on Team Half a Buck. They were the defending champs from 2021. They were looking to try to go back-to-back right there in St. Augustine.
And again, a lot of the boats having to make a longer run. Again, do you stay close? Is that where the prime fishing waters are, or do you make that longer run? I think the guys that were making that longer run were possibly getting a little bit better success, but success is measured in 3 blue marlin for Team Half a Buck. But if 3 wins you the tournament, it wins you the tournament. And if it's a blue, it's max points.
Yeah, when you have over 3 blue marlin, that's over 1,000 catch points. You pair that up with your winning 3,500 points as well. Sets you in a decent position for the overall points rank for each division. But yeah, like you said, some places it's variable. You may have to catch 10 blue marlin to be in contention, but it all depends on the strategy that you have. Obviously, 3 of the percentage of the whole event, it's a good number of blue marlin for one team.
Yeah, Pez Vela, I think, caught the first blue marlin of the tournament. After that, it was Half a Buck. It was really kind of out in front and stayed out in front. Hugs all around. You're the winners at St. Augustine, and with that goes the splash. A big splash, and we saw a lot of vegetation in the water too, something we haven't seen. But either way, raise that flag up the pole. You done it. You done did it. SFC winner. You caught the most blue marlin as well. So again, these guys are proud to show those flags and let everybody know when they come in just what they've done on the day.
And I think you mentioned it, when you go to the Dominican Republic event and you can choose to fish the Atlantic, we see just a 200-point difference from 3 blue marlin compared to 9 white marlin. So that's the big difference on what you target.
Yeah.
Team Half a Buck there, 1,050 catch points, 3,500 for winning. Pez Vela, you mentioned, they got the bonus points aspect as well, and in second place in the event.
Again, we saw some blues, we saw some sailfish as well, and this is the overall for the Atlantic and how it looks. And you see some of the Dominican Republic teams mixed in there as well, like the Doña Lucy and the Half a Buck. It is very tight on the Atlantic side. I know this week we're in the Gulf, but it's very tight, and we still got a month before we were getting to the meat of their season.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden when we hit that next event up north for the Atlantic Division, Robbie, we're gonna be done before you know it, because we're gonna have 3 in a row basically up in the Northeast. But we mentioned that the strategy. You go to an event, Robbie, that features white marlin. That's not an inferior species at all, but the point total is a third. You go to an event and make hay with blue marlin, you can have a lot of catch points to go to your overall total.
I'm looking for whites, I'm looking for blues, I'm looking for all of the billfish as I leave Orange Beach, Alabama. You gotta have a plan. Do you make that run, that hundreds of mile run out, maybe where you fished at the first stop outside of Venice, or do you stay closer? A couple of hours get you around those rigs and platforms, which could make the difference. Where there's tuna, where there's mahi, there's also going to be billfish. We'll see if they catch them today and the next 2 days on the Sport Fishing Championship.
A day out on the water could go great. Or it could have a few minor setbacks. Things could get rough. Or you could lose that $900 smartphone. Whatever the problem, Yugo provides unmatched premium protection for any water sports adventure. Yugo. To get yours, visit YugoWear.com or simply scan the QR code on the screen. And remember, just add water.
Some call it joie de vivre, the joy of life. In Louisiana, it's our way of life. From music that shakes up your senses to food that wakes up your palate. That joy vibrates in every note we play and spices up every meal we serve. So come live life to the fullest. Come one, come y'all, come feed your soul in Louisiana. I'm Sean Ardway, inviting you to plan your trip at LouisianaTravel.com.
So, you want this, but you can't have it without this, or this, or this. Until now, introducing a new way to travel, intranationally. Get all that international charm without ever leaving the country. Right here in St. Augustine, Ponte Vedra. Get all that culture, all the cuisine from that culture. You're welcome. All the gram-worthy sites from that hashtag culture. It's right here at home. St. Augustine, Ponte Vedra. Travel intranationally.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. High blood pressure silently affects millions of Americans. Staying on top of your blood pressure is as simple as these 4 easy steps. Self-monitoring is power. Visit manageyourbp.org to learn more.
When it comes to performance, comfort, and functionality, we've got you covered. Performance apparel designed by anglers to make your time on the water better than ever. Salt Life, the official apparel sponsor of the Sport Fishing Championship.
Yeah, baby! That's what I'm talking about!
Sport fishing anglers from around the world competing for $1 million. The Sport Fishing Championship on CBS Sports Network.
SFC coverage of the Gulf Coast Masters is brought to you by Garmin, the Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation, and by St. Augustine in St. Johns County, Florida's historic coast.
Calm day back at the marina. It was not so calm as the boats left this morning just less than half an hour ago here at the fourth stop of the Gulf Coast Masters. It will not be a calm day as they take off on the look ahead with Smith Optics at our next stop in Mississippi, Biloxi, Mississippi, for the Mississippi Gulf Coast Billfish Classic on the June 11th weekend. Ronnie, just like we saw a moment ago, it'll be a massive start. Over 100 boats at that one ready to take off and do damage.
Yeah, this is the second stop of the Gulf Division exclusively this week, the Gulf Coast Masters. And next week, our next event in 2 weeks, the Mississippi Gulf Coast Billfish Classic. We'll have a lot more pieces to the puzzle for that Angler of the Year, the Team of the Year, the Boat of the Year race, $100,000 for that Gulf Division. So that's going to be one that's kind of a pivotal point in the season before we make it to Myanmar and South Padre for the Gulf Division.
Yeah, several boats like It Takes Time, I think, a champion there. Sea Student, Bandito, who's in the Sport Fishing Championship. Might not have seen him at the first stop, but they just have to fish 3 to qualify for the SFC.
Yeah, and qualifying for the SFC Championship, it's really cool what they've done, Robbie, taking all of these iconic events, putting them under one roof, putting a huge prize at the end of the year, and we will see that in Puerto Rico, a winner of $1 million possible, and we will decide all of the Angler of the Year races for each division as well.
And it's the fourth stop. Ronnie Miller, thank you for joining me today. Peter Miller, he's been on baby duty. We'll talk more about that, and congratulations to him. And again, Amanda and Emily, the Gale Force twins, they'll be joining us also at 6 p.m. this afternoon. We're going to be seeing some fish catches in. Not happening right now, but we're going to get those updates. I want to hear those sounders, Ronnie.
The shotgun start has happened. The teams are now navigating to their spots, and the strategy will ensue on catching the biggest blue marlin and the most possible.
It's the kickoff day, first one of 3 of the Sport Fishing Championship. We'll see everybody later at 6 p.m. Eastern.